Oh, it's terrible.
So you haven't bothered to learn the language of the country that you've moved?
I would be better off speaking Hindi than I would Arabic.
So everybody who moves to Britain should learn English, but you've moved to Dubai and haven't learned Arabic?
Yes.
And you don't see any hypocrisy in that at all?
I don't see the hypocrisy because we have to follow very strict laws.
Yes,
within
but
the country.
Immigrants should learn the language of the country they move to apart from you.
I didn't say that. You said that.
No, you said that anybody who moves to Britain should learn English.
I didn't say that.
Yes, you did. You said you were going on about people not learning the language.
No, I didn't. You said that. I didn't say that.
So you don't think people who come to Britain should learn English?
I don't think that's the defining nature, apart from in schooling.
That's not what I'm saying. Do you think they should have...
What is up, everybody? Harry here. This is Ben Kentish on LBC with a caller named Max, a British expat living in Dubai, who rings in worried about cultural invasion in the UK from immigration. Kendish's approach here is simple but effective. He keeps asking Max about his own life in Dubai, how many of his kids' friends are Emirati, whether he's learned Arabic after 8 years there, and lets Max's own answers do the work. Get subscribed if you want breakdowns that let people's own words speak for themselves. Let's get into it.
What do you not get in Dubai that you would get in Britain? There must be some downsides, Max. There must be some sacrifices that you make by leaving. What are they?
Yeah, you don't get the state system of support. So, you know, I mean, whether it be pension or healthcare or other things, which your employer, a lot of employers provide for you, you fundamentally, if you fail, you have to go back. And in the UK, if you fail, you get supported no matter what.
What about things like equal rights, LGBT rights, gender equality, democracy, the fact to choose your government? Does that not sort of come into it at all? I realise that that's probably secondary to can I make a living and, you know, what sort of life will my children have? But it must be a factor, isn't it?
As somebody who is straight, I have more LGBTQ. I have more gay friends here than I ever had in the UK, from all around the world, whether they be Ireland or Lebanon or Italy or other places.
That might be true, but they can't be openly gay there in the way that they could be here.
Well, they can't, you know, get a license to get married, but they can actually have a better quality of life.
Well, they can't walk down the street hand in hand, presumably.
Yeah, they can.
And nothing would happen to them?
It was a very Arab thing to male to males or female to females.
All right. Let me use a different example. If two of your gay friends kissed in the street, they would feel completely free to do that in Dubai?
Come
on.
If me and my wife kissed in the street, we'd feel slightly awkward.
Well, they're slightly awkward, and then there's the prospect of being arrested by a police that are enforcing Sharia law, Max. They're slightly different things.
Yeah, we would. If I went down to Abu Dhabi and then I kissed my wife in the street, I'd feel... I wouldn't do that and we wouldn't do that because I'd feel massively awkward.
I just wonder, for all the tax benefits and the kind of economic benefits, you know, there is a lot to be said for living in a liberal democracy that respects the rights of minorities in a way that places like Dubai can't. It's illegal to be gay in the UAE, for example.
There is, but as I say, bizarrely, the majority of my friends who I know here are actually international people from other countries who are actually gay, much more openly within the social context than back in the UK. Yeah, you have to navigate. You have to navigate your personal circumstances, and I think people do much. There's a level of responsibility that you have to navigate your personal perspective and responsibilities. A level of responsibility that is not there in the UK.
Gotcha. Do you think you'll ever come back, Max?
Not if I have the choice.
Ever. So you'll happily live out the rest of your life in the Middle East.
Ironically, my wife is Polish. My kids are half Polish. I would, if I had the opportunity to retire, and bearing in mind GDP per capita is going to, rise above the UK in about 3 years' time, I would go to Poland rather than the UK.
Really? Why? Because you think you'd be better off?
Well, economically,
yes.
100% yes. Culturally, yes.
What makes you think you'd be culturally better off in Poland than the UK, Max? And you're not alone, because a lot of people who came to this country from Eastern Europe have gone back.
Going back.
Yes.
Going back.
They don't want to be here anymore.
Exactly. They're going back
but
because
why?
of economical reasons, but also cultural reasons. I'll tell you what, you go to Gdansk, you go to Warsaw, you go to, Krakow, you will get a feeling of being that you're in Poland as opposed to a country which is not Poland. And I mean, I'm trying to be diplomatic here.
Are you saying this is about immigration?
It's not just about immigration. It's about cultural. How do I say it? It's about cultural invasion.
Cultural invasion? What does that mean?
Yeah. I think, like J.D. Vance and other Americans have said, I think the UK and I think the West is fundamentally under and it's been going through for about 30 years, perhaps. Yeah. Since probably Tony Blair for our case, it's going under a cultural reform, which is going to mean that you can't identify what Anglo-Saxon or European even, or nationality and culture is,
right.
and
all the Brits like yourself, Max, that have moved as immigrants to Dubai and established big expat communities there that are not representative of the original population of Dubai. Is that a cultural invasion?
I mean, 90% of Dubai is not from the UAE. They're not Arab. 40% is Indian, another 15% is Pakistani.
If that's not a cultural invasion that's displacing or replacing the indigenous people, then what is? You're part of the problem that you're claiming is going on in Britain.
And the irony is, and honestly, you call me out for this hypocrisy, I'm fine for this. Nobody voted for that in the UK.
Who voted for it in
Europe.
Dubai? Well, nobody, because they don't have votes.
No. And the entire point is that they allowed it because it enabled massive economic and social, not social,
yes.
but economic improvement.
Yeah, as immigration to this country is done.
No, it's not.
Well, every
it's
single
low wage.
every study,
it's low wage.
Max,
it's
every single study.
And the economics have been.
It hasn't. Every single study I've ever seen shows that immigrants contribute more to this country than they take up.
Yeah, no. Some immigrants do. Some immigrants don't.
Yes, that's true. But on the whole, immigrants add more to the economy than they take out of it in this country. Just like I'm sure they do in Dubai.
That's a nonsensical argument.
No, it's not.
Immigrants. No. Okay, if you open up the borders for people who are going to drive down the minimum wage and drive down low wage economics, of course that's going to act counter to people who drive up high wage economics. It's not rocket science.
Every single economic study that I've ever seen about this, Max, shows that on the whole, immigrants contribute more to the economy than they take. I just can't believe that as an immigrant to Dubai, where you tell me yourself 80% of the population is non-native, you're concerned about cultural displacement in Britain.
Of course. And I can talk about police. I can talk about social norms. I can talk about the application of laws and cultural and religious laws too, and how the UK has completely failed on these things. I can talk about the way that we have absolutely failed in the UK to not integrate, but to define what it is to be British and to allow people in.
But aren't you doing exactly the same thing in a different part of the world?
Well, I'm actually, by the very definition, when my kids get up and sing the UAE national anthem,
right,
and they dress in the UAE national dress, and they make sure, as we do, that we comply with all the cultural and religious
and they're at an international school,
norms.
are they?
Yes.
So how many of the children at that school are natives of the UAE?
Probably 10%.
And that's integration in your view? You're well
It's
integrated with the native population of Dubai?
When those kids have to learn, and my kids have to learn Arabic,
That's
and
not
they
the
have
point.
to sing the national anthem 8 o'clock every morning.
That's not the point.
8 o'clock every morning, they stand up. And I got caught out by this.
But
they stand up and they sing the national anthem.
They might sing the national anthem, but they don't mix with native local people, do they? Clearly.
Well, of course they do.
How many of your kids' friends have grew up and born in Dubai as Arabs?
Probably, I'd imagine, 10, 15%.
Right. So 90% of your children's friends aren't indigenous population. And you're worried about a lack of engagement and integration here.
They have to learn Arabic in the school. They have to sing the national anthem at 8 o'clock every single morning. They have to celebrate the UAE every single time that we have the UAE Day. So, yes.
I'd put it to you, there's far more integration in this country than the one that you've moved to.
I think you're wrong.
Despite the fact that 90% of your children's friends don't come from the country that you live in?
I think that my children respect the language and the culture, and we respect the laws and the religion
of
this country. Oh, it's terrible.
So you haven't bothered to learn the language of the country that you've moved?
I would be better off speaking Hindi than I would Arabic.
So everybody who moves to Britain should learn English, but you've moved to Dubai and haven't learned Arabic?
Yes.
And you don't see any hypocrisy in that at all?
I don't see the hypocrisy because we have to follow very strict laws within the country.
Immigrants should learn the language of the country they move to apart from you.
I didn't say that. You said that.
No, you said that anybody who moves to Britain should learn English.
I didn't say that.
Yes, you did. You said you were going on about people not learning the language.
No, I didn't. You said that. I didn't say that.
So you don't think people who come to Britain should learn English?
I don't think that's the defining nature, apart from in schooling.
That's not what I'm saying. Do you think they should or shouldn't learn English when they move here?
I think they should respect the culture.
Surely that includes learning the language?
Well, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
So why are you not respecting the culture of Dubai?
I am respecting the culture every single day.
But you haven't learnt the language in 13 years?
Not 13 years. I've been here for 8 years. I respect the culture every single day in the way that I dress, in the way that I interact with all of the Emiratis that I deal with every single day at work and socially.
All right, Max, I think we'll have to agree to disagree on that one.
Watch the specific demographic claim Max makes about Dubai, because it's worth confirming it's actually accurate rather than an exaggeration for effect. The UAE genuinely does have one of the highest non-citizen population shares in the world, with various estimates putting the Emirati citizen population at somewhere around 10 to 15% of Dubai's total residents, depending on the year and source. That's a real, striking statistic, and it means Kentish's line of questioning isn't built on a shaky premise. Is testing Max's stated principle against a genuinely comparable, verified situation in his own life. The consistency test Kentish runs here is worth naming precisely as a technique because it's different from simply disagreeing with Max's politics. He doesn't argue that concern about integration is inherently wrong. He asks whether Max applies the same standard to himself that he's applying to migrants in Britain, specifically around learning the local language and building relationships with the native population. Max's answer that he respects the culture through dress and workplace interactions without having learned Arabic in 8 years is a real and specific gap between the standard being demanded of others and the standard being met personally. And it's worth treating that gap as the substantive finding here rather than just an amusing gotcha, since a principle that only applies to other people isn't really a principle about integration. It's a principle about who gets asked to integrate. The economic claim about immigration deserves more precision than either speaker gives it. Kentish's assertion that every single study shows immigrants contribute more than they take is close to accurate for a specific and important subset. Working age migrants, particularly those on skilled visa routes, who were multiple independent UK analyses, including from the Office for Budget Responsibility, have found make a net positive fiscal contribution because they pay in without yet drawing on pension and elderly care costs. It's less precise as a blanket claim covering every migration route and every individual case. Since fiscal outcomes do vary meaningfully by visa category, age, and circumstances, Max's response, "Some immigrants do, some don't," is actually a fair and accurate qualification in principle, even though he doesn't develop it into a specific counter-argument with its own evidence. Max's underlying concern about the difficulty of defining a shared national culture amid rapid demographic change is a real question debated seriously by sociologists, political theorists, and policymakers across many countries. Not something invented for this call. What this exchange actually tests isn't whether that concern is valid in the abstract, but whether Max applies the standard he's demanding of newcomers to Britain to his own choices as a long-term resident of a foreign country, and on that specific, narrower question, his own answers don't hold together. It's also worth crediting the shape of Kentish's questioning here, separate from the specific conclusion it reaches. He never actually tells Max his views on immigration are wrong outright. He just keeps returning to Max's own stated life circumstances and asking whether the same standard applies there too. That's a genuinely different approach from arguing the merits of immigration policy directly, and it's often more revealing because it doesn't require settling the broader debate at all. It just tests whether a specific person is applying their own stated principle evenly, which is a narrower and more answerable question than the underlying policy dispute itself. If breakdowns like this are useful to you, get subscribed to Harry Unfiltered, and I'll keep checking the specifics fairly, one call at a time.